How do you live your dreams? I think all day long, people tell us, go, be bold, conquer, follow your dreams. It's a lot of the conversation that we are hearing today, and I think rightfully so. I think that we are in the ripest time to be able to go follow our dreams and what it is that we are created to do and be in our lifetime. My name is January Donovan with The Art of Being a Woman. I teach women how to be intentional in the way they show up in the world. Now, what is the crisis of the modern day women today? That's what we are going to be discussing and talking about, because we have to understand what we're sitting at. We have to understand the context in which we are living our life now, because I believe we have a voice that we need to communicate. I think we are pivoting in our life in this time in history, and that we need women to truly lead the path and the transformation of the voice of women. I think we've seen a lot of radical extremes in the middle, and I think we're saying, you know what? We now understand the repercussions of the busy life, the unfulfilled life, the crazy life. And I think we are living in rat race culture where we're doing, and the internet has radically changed the way we literally live our lives, that we almost need an overhaul pause. So this is what I want to address today, because I think it's a conversation that needs to be a global conversation, and that is that what is the crisis of the modern women today? And we need to break it down and really take responsibility in our part in shifting culture. And I love that word, shifting culture, because I think that we ought to show up elevating every conversation and every encounter. And I think we can only do that with a level of awareness and a lot of responsibility. So let's break this down today. And what's the crisis? There's a lot of information and inspiration, but not a lot of formation. What is formation? So I say, you know what? I want to be a mom. I want to, I'm so excited to be a mother. I have waited all my life for it. And all of a sudden, everybody tells me I have to make sure I have everything in my wedding registry. I have to make sure that I've got the birthing plan, and all of a sudden I have the baby, and guess what? I actually need to learn how to manage my time. I need to learn how to take care of myself. I need to learn how to study my body. I need to learn how to manage my home. So we're so excited for this great adventure, and yet we are so ill-equipped. It's the same thing as entrepreneurs. It's the same thing as, I want so badly to be in an incredible relationship, because we all want and deserve a beautiful relationship, and yet we don't know how to get feedback. We don't know how to study and observe our spouses, our friendships, our partners. We don't know how to hold people accountable. What am I saying here? What I'm saying is that we are in a world right now where we are skill deprived. That's the crisis of the modern women. Stay with me. I'm going to break this down. We are told, go, do what it is that you want to do. And we are ill-equipped to be able to walk in our daily life to say, that's how you do it. That's how you live a fulfilling life. That's how you build a routine. That's how you study your food. Here's a great example. We are taught to be healthy. Think about it. Everybody, you walk out the door, there is an image of what a beautiful woman is, and it looks a certain way. There's a certain size. It's shifting a little bit, but we see that. However, nobody talks about kitchen skills. You cannot own your health unless you own your kitchen, because at the end of the day, you have to take responsibility in what you put inside your body, and you need to go out and eat and say, what are the ingredients here, and how is it affecting my body? These are all skill sets that, in a world that's going so fast, we have forgotten to reteach. And I would also say that the skill sets required in our culture today is actually new. Let me give you an example. For example, clarifying skills. When we are in conversation, we need to understand that the skill set to clarify and redefine is actually a very important skill. There's a lot of people that are not actually talking and engaging in a conversation simply because there's no clarity in their conversation. You could be in a conversation and not know exactly the purpose of it. There's so many skills that I think today we need to learn that maybe our parents did not have to learn. Having to say no to social media, that's a skill. Everything boils down to a skill. So I think that, I always had this vision of me as a little girl because I grew up in an island, and that movie Moana just came out, and she's trying to cross that reef. So imagine you're born in this world and you're taught, go cross that reef, go adventure, go follow your heart's desire, go dream, go big, go bold. And so we are told from the very beginning to do that. And, first grade, second grade. And then all of a sudden you say, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm so ready. And then you realize you don't have a boat. You don't know how to sail. You don't have a compass. You don't even know the first thing about swimming. Think about it. That's literally an analogy of the modern women today where, great, go bold, go dream, but how do you dream? How do you pause? How do you allow yourself to want the things you want? How do you silence the critics? These are all life skills that are essential for us to be able to what? Go into our dreams. Follow what it is that we are created to do and be in our lifetime. And I believe that every woman has a very important voice as part of this beautiful tapestry. And we have the responsibility to chisel that. We are a masterpiece that needs to be chiseled in our lifetime. So we need to start talking about skill set. And this is the conversation that I am going to move the direction of ABW, because I'm realizing that is the crisis today. The modern day crisis is that we are expected to do it all without knowing how to do it. That the skill sets are not really translated into our every single day life. And so it's almost like setting us up for a trap, and that I want to, but I don't know how to. And compounding that is that it's a silent cry. Because right now we want to, but we're stuck. How do you get there? But it's a silent cry because I don't want to let people know that I don't know how to do it. Think about it. It's a toxic world. The minute you show up a little bit of vulnerability and say, I'm having one of those days, it's sort of like, I wonder what everyone else thinks. I wonder if I'll be accepted. I wonder if I show up exactly as I am, the world will receive me. So it's a conversation that I think we are having with ourselves, whether we realize it or not, that I'm so afraid to show up and be vulnerable because I don't know how people will receive me. And part of that is that sometimes when I read comments, when people have conversation, it's so toxic that you're afraid to show up and show yourself because, what are they going to say? There was an article that I read that so much of the youth today just want to be seen. And the reason why is because we live in a social media world, and to be seen, to be known, to have as many friends as you want equals your worth. Think about that. We have to really kind of break these crises down, because what happens is when we feel stuck, it's almost like this glass ceiling where we see what the possibilities, we know that we are supposed to be this kind of mother or this entrepreneur or this relationship, and we kind of see that we want to get there, but we have no idea how to get there. We don't know how to break that glass ceiling because we don't have a chisel, we don't know how to, or we don't have friends that actually will help us and usher us in these skills. I do believe that we are right in that cusp where people are starting to see that we have to go back to the basic life skills. I love that Arianna Huffington wrote a book on sleep and thriving, and she literally went back to the most basic way of life so that we can thrive, because her story is so beautiful that she actually was this very successful woman who was in crisis mode because she didn't take care of the most basic needs of her life. So I think with the conversation, the global conversation of us really taking care of the basic skill sets so we can build our life and truly follow our dreams is now. It's really happening, and we're seeing that businesses, we're seeing that women are starting to have conversations that are really pivotal for us to thrive in our life. And a lot goes back to what are the skills we need to learn to be able to discover what it is that we are created to do. So that's the image that I want us to think about. And for moms out there, think about your children. Think about equipping them with the skills they need to be able to conquer the reef of their life. And I think about that because, I think that we are born here to create something beautiful. And in order to do that, we have to equip our children to do it. And I think we have to take responsibility in equipping ourselves, because we have to realize that unless we do it, who's going to do it? I think it all begins, my husband always remind me and say, January, it all begins with a responsibility knowing that nobody's going to train you but you. You have to say, you know what, I need to start from scratch. I need to learn this skill and I need to do it every single day, and I need to work on myself. And that's, I think, the first step is taking responsibility on what we know and don't know and say, okay, what do I need to learn? And going back to formation, I think right now there's a lot of inspiration, but there's not this culture of formation as part of an everyday life, which means that every day when I wake up, I see how I can apply the things that I need to learn in order to live the life that I deserve. What are the skills that I'm really working on today, right now, that's going to change the quality of my day? And so we think, we read a blog, we go to a conference, and it's great, but it's really the day-to-day self-mastery that changes who we are. And we need to make that part of our woman culture, where we say, today I'm working on mastering who I am as a woman so that I can serve the world in a very profound way. Because we want to, but we don't know how to. A lot of times moms come up to me and, January, I feel like I'm all over the place and I'm a mess and I'm frustrated. I always tell them, be kind to yourself. Maybe nobody ever taught you how to build a routine, or how to say no, or how to manage what you think is important to you and not what everybody else thinks is important to you. These are life skills that are so crucial for us to have a quality day. So the things that I think are so important for us, so I want to also ponder 5 things. And the reason why I think it's a pondering is because it's the beginning of a bigger conversation, and all I want to do today is introduce the concept of these kind of big frameworks that we're going to sort of begin to unpack. And so number 1 is that we need to focus on formation, okay? I want you to think about the kind of woman you want to be. For example, I want to be a kind woman. Underneath kindness are probably 5, 6, 7, 8 skills. Everything that you choose to desire for yourself is typically peppered with compounding skills, okay? Take anything where you say, you know what? I want to be an author, okay? What are the skills that I need for that? I want to be a supportive woman. What are the skills? Maybe it's listening skills. Maybe it's asking question skills. Maybe it's pausing skills. So many things. And I just want you to start thinking about it so that we can create a framework in which we form ourselves as women, so that we say, great, we can dream about the kind of woman that we believe are sort of from the desires of our heart, and then we pivot and say, now what are the skills I need to become her? Because that's really what the mastery is. And we need to think of formation as a daily action plan. Okay, a daily action plan. I have my, here's my handy dandy index card, and I literally write out the things that I need to work on a daily basis, my mind and my skill set. And it's changed my life. I have to go back, and look at the way I was 3 months ago and say, wow, I've totally crossed that bridge and I didn't even really realize it. And it's sort of, you don't know when you look back and say, oh, I've worked on it for so long and it's totally working. And that's part of honoring the journey, which are all part of skill set. Everything is a skill set. So this is what the beautiful part of it is, that There's freedom in knowing that you can absolutely dream the biggest dream, and you can absolutely conquer what it is that are desire of your heart, because it's all a matter of skill set. It becomes an even playing field for every single woman out there, and that we are not defined by what we do, but who we are, because who we are the layers of skills and how we show up. And that's what I think makes it so amazing. And I just lost my class here. So that's the first thing, is that formation. The second thing that we need to do, excuse me here, is I want you to start thinking of confidence is competence. Okay, so let me break this down. Everybody wants to be a confident woman. Everybody. I work with hundreds and thousands of women, and when I ask them, do you want to be confident? Yes. Why? Of course we want to be confident. We want to know that we can show up exactly the way we are and that we are free to do it. However, nobody talks about competence. Competence is knowing how to do something and be a master at it. Working with a woman, and January, I just really feel kind of inferior in conversation. I don't know how to talk to women. Well, all that is competence. All that is practice. You want to be a good writer? Start writing. You want to be a good speaker? Start speaking. And it's about repetition. Repetition, repetition, repetition. It's about knowing that every single day you're moving your needle forward to become that person. Confidence is all about competence. For example, a lot of times women say, January, I just don't feel confident about what I wear. I don't know what looks good on me, and I don't know, to sort of walk in a room and I just feel a little bit insecure. Well, it begins with saying, okay, let's learn what your body type is. Let's figure that part out. And then let's just show up and practice every single day with that right mindset. It's all about competence, which is based on repetition. And so what that boils down to is that every single day of our life, we build a layer of confidence that's going to fuel our confidence in every arena, whether it's work, home, friendship, everything. In friendship, you can think about it. I don't have great friends. Well, let's work on our conversation skills. Let's work on our listening skills. It's all about the competence that we are intentionally incorporating into our life that's going to give us what? The tools. That's what's so amazing about skills, is that we can now cross the reef of our dreams because we have the compass, we have the tools, we know how. It doesn't matter anymore. Go big and go bold. You can do it because what? Every single day you are learning the skill set necessary to do it. And it really puts us, I believe that's a freedom point. When I say freedom point, it means that you shatter the possibilities of what once you thought was impossible in your life. Because you're not stuck. Why? Everything that's challenging, every impossible dream is a matter of learning a new skill to incorporate and make it possible. And so you intentionally work on it as part of what? Your daily formation. You form yourself to be that woman. And that, I believe, is a freedom point. That's the way we ought to live our lives. And it becomes sort of this work, a beautiful work. It's this masterpiece that who we are as a woman is created to serve the world. Isn't that amazing? That it's not what we do, it's not how much we earn, it's not what's on our PhD, AD, or whatever all these are labels, it's how we show up. That's what makes it beautiful, because the mere presence can change culture. Our mere presence can be such a powerful impact and force for good if we have the skills to be able to do that. And all it is are skills. All it is are skills. It's not that somebody was born with this infused, knowing how to show up and change people's lives. No, they're just skills. You can't teach wisdom. You actually have to experience all these things in life and ponder it, and that's how you become wise. But what I'm saying is that it then is become a real possibility for every woman to elevate every conversation and every encounter based on skill set. Is that amazing? All right, number 3 is that we need to be master at context. What do I mean? Today, when we learn, social study skills or math, let's just say geometry, most of the time we sit there and my children ask me, Mom, what do I need to learn this for? And part of me feels like, well, I don't blame you. I don't blame you, because we are not taught built into our system to say, I'm learning this for what? To what avail? So we actually have to be women that are masterful at connecting the dots in context of where we are in the journey. We need to understand our stories. We need to be able to see our life in context of stories, where we are first-timer mom, are we in our dating relationship. We're able to connect the dots. That's a beautiful skill that I believe every woman can learn, but it would change our life. Just think, for example, food. Connecting the dots of what you eat and how it makes you feel the next day is powerful transformation for your daily life, because you're going to realize, well, you know what, that was too much junk food and I actually am groggy today. But we don't teach that in our education system. We don't teach that. And so women, for me, I remember I had so much I remember I used to get, my nose used to get runny and my back would hurt, and I was, 23 years old? Nobody ever taught me that what I was eating really caused so much of my backache. It was a lot of MSG junk I didn't know affected my mood, my body, and so I suffered without realizing that it was all connected to what I was eating. My point is that we need to be masterful in our ability to connect the dots. It's always questioning, okay, how does this affect this? How does this affect this in context of where we are? And once we learn that skill, guess what? It's a great gift to our friends around us, because we can also help them see in context of our life. And that's what beautiful friendships are. We help each other grow in context of our life. What are the things that we need to master, while maybe we are going through an engagement, or we want to be entrepreneurs? It is so important to surround yourself with women that are intentionally growing and intentionally learning skills. I cannot tell you, ladies, at the end of the day, we become who we surround ourselves with. And if you surround yourself with women that are intentionally growing in skill set and mindset, you are going to be a transformed woman. Try it. Find your friends. You don't let go of old friendships but you understand your role within your friendship. And that's an important distinction, because you want to have friends that you want to grow with, and the goal ultimately is that your friends grow with you. But you can't change them. You can't also expect them to sort of walk into your journey, but what you can is model transformation. But it's important that you surround yourself with the key people that are also walking that same journey with you, because you help each other. So it's important for us to be masterful at context, at putting into context everything that we learn, so that in conversation we can always say, oh, you know what, that's where that belongs. That's how you connect the dots. I have an example here. I think if you are a mom, you could probably appreciate this, is that today, and back into context, is that common sense is not common practice anymore. Greeting somebody is common sense. We know that it's a beautiful gift. It serves other people. It opens doors for us just by the sheer conversation and greeting. And yet, if you go outside and notice, our youth today, they're not necessarily taught or expected to greet everyone around us. And I grew up in the Philippines, and I remember you never passed by an adult without greeting them and looking them in the eye. It's so basic, but we have arrived in a time where we actually have to question the most basic common sense and assume that it's no longer common practice. I actually just read a beautiful article on it yesterday, and we're arriving in that. And we have come where there's so much confusion, and what used to be normal is not already, we cannot assume that it is in our culture today. So there's a lot of opportunity there, but there's also a lot of opportunities to make sure that as women we learn the skill of clarifying, that we really allow the conversation, we lead the conversation and say, what do you mean by that? Because even in conversations, we can't assume that we're talking about the same things. That's a skill in itself, and it's a whole class in itself. But I just want you to see that some of the most basic things are not expected anymore, so we actually have to reteach it, model it. And if you are a woman out there or a mom, it might not be reinforced by the culture, because part of it is that we actually have to lead the charge. Number 4 is that we have a role model crisis. And this is something that I think is a huge silent crisis, because a lot of times we might know what we want, but unless somebody sort of lived it or we can kind of paint the image, it's hard to believe what's possible. We need to acquire role models as part of the way we live our lives, and we also need to make sure that we are modeling always. And that's the assumption of how we show up every single day, that I am modeling to other women, but at the same time, I also want to make sure that I have my role models that I am aspiring to. And this is something that I think we need to reintroduce as a mentorship. And it's not this sort of mentorship the way we define it right now, but it's really intentional mentorship. For example, if you have a daughter, mentor the woman that's going to mentor your daughter. That's an important thing. We need to be mentoring all day long, and we define our 5 key mentors out there. I have my mentors, some of them are virtual, and actually most of them are virtual, and I try to study them. Part of the skill set of knowing how to have those role models out there is that we need to learn how to study our mentors. We need to learn how to ask the right questions. We need to learn how to say, what are the things I incorporate? What do I like? What do I like? How does that fit? These are all skill set in context of learning how to find mentors and be a mentor. It is so important that we are mentoring because we have to give the full circle back. We have to be able, because it's when we give is really when we receive the most. So this is something that I think we need to introduce, but it is, you do it in context of your own little tribe, because if you are going to mentor somebody, especially young women, you want to welcome them in your own home. You want to invite them. And part of the reason I think that right now there's a huge crisis of mentoring is that we have a false definition of a strong woman. When we think strong, we think, oh, she can do it all and all by herself. Whether we know that's consciously or subconsciously, that's really what's happening. And the moment we, say, what, I have help, or that I really can't do this on my own, there's a little bit, I thought you could. And so we need to redefine what success, what strength, what beautiful woman is. There's a lot of redefining that we need to do in our culture, and it really begins with us doing it. What I want to teach women is how to do that. How to be able to walk in a conversation and have a script and say, what do you mean by that? Explain that to me. Can we define that in context of our conversation so that we can understand? Because we want to introduce new definitions and clarify these definitions or false definitions of a strong woman. And so in The Art of Being a Woman, I really give women intentional scripts, because I think we need to lead the charge in redefining so many of the false definitions that are hurting women today, such as strong woman. What does that look like? And so that's part of a skill set that I think if we do not learn it, we become a victim of it. And the second thing I think with the crisis of a role model today is that we lack vulnerability. It's hard for us to be able to say, here's my life, and don't criticize it, but here's the imperfect version of who I want and who I'm striving to be. Why? Because there's this false facade of perfection, and we use it like it's water. Perfect. I say, ladies, I challenge you to replace that word perfect and use the word polished, because it's so overly used, and I believe that it's almost redefined in our mindset that we have this image of perfection as flawless, and I think it could be a source of wound for so many women today, and especially in the social media world where you only show what you want to show and not the full spectrum. I believe that there's no role models that are actually walking the journey and showing the journey, the ups, the downs, the confusion, the frustration. And so it's hard for us, it was hard for me to say, okay, I get that, but how do you do that? How do you live that? And we have, I remember asking my mentor to say, can I hang out with you? Can I live with you? And here are my questions. What do you think? And really breaking it down so that I can say, okay, that's how it's done. Show me. And at the same time, we need to understand that the people that we actually model after are also not perfect, and that we can learn from the good. Take the good, learn from the bad, and make things better. And that's how we need to learn how to look at our mentors. So there's, I think that mentoring is a class in itself, and how to be a mentor and how to be mentored, and that needs to be part of the dialogue today. And the last thing I think that encapsulates so many themes that I wanted to address today is that we have a crisis of a skill set. skill set, every single thing that we are struggling with our life, we need to be able to ask ourselves and say, what's the skill here, January, that you need to learn in order to overcome it? There's a freedom point in that, because then it just becomes a skill that we need to learn. It's not that we are stuck for life. It's not that we are born a certain way. It's just, what are the skills that I need to do to overcome exactly where I am in my life? Is it the health issue? Is it boundaries? Because those are all skills. Boundaries are skills. Everything that you can think about are all based on skill set. Wherever you are in the journey, where if you think that you are lonely, a lot of times, this is a great example, because a lot of times I have conversations with women that are new moms, and there's this loneliness aspect, and I always challenge women and say, loneliness is not so much an isolation of proximity as it is a skill set of communication. Because we can have a conversation with 10 minutes and be so fulfilled, or be with somebody for 2 hours and never have quality conversation. So that's what I mean. Communication issue is huge in loneliness, because we need to understand that it takes a lot of skills, and I would say multitudes of skills, to be able to know that we are fulfilled in our conversations, that there is a nurturing part of our conversation. And I think that's a freedom point when we can understand that what it boils down to is a skill set that we can absolutely transform our life if we are intentional about it. So my action item for you right now would be, where are you in the journey right now that's so frustrating for you, and what are the 3 skills that you think you need to learn in order to overcome sort of this bump in the road? Not this crazy, difficult anxiety, but I always say bump in the road. Change your language. And language in itself is a skill set. I think we need to learn to really replace some of the languages that we're using right now that are causing havoc in our mindset. And that, I think, is a skill of awareness. So pick those 3 skill set and really be mindful of how you are or would be applying it for the next week. And so that you can kind of see, oh, you know what, if I just master maybe learning to build a routine, or if I just master saying no to all the things, or if I just master going to bed early, or whatever it is that you struggle with. And then I think, based on observation, pick one skill that you're going to work on for the rest of the month. And here's the beauty, ladies, is that we never arrive at our fullness. We evolve into our greater self every single day. And it makes being a woman such an adventure of self-mastery for the sole purpose of serving the world. And I believe that is the most fulfilling way to live our life. It's not what we accomplish, but how we show up and how we serve everyone around us. It makes it so fulfilling. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom, or you are a CEO, or everywhere in between, whatever it is, when you can show up with a level of intentionality, knowing full well that you are intentionally serving the hearts of everyone around you, elevating the conversation and the encounters, you know that you can go to bed at night as a fulfilled woman. And then from there, work backwards from your dream. Thank you, ladies. If you have any questions, please email them to me. And as my son would say, sharing is caring and caring is sharing. So I'm going to adopt that philosophy. And if you believe that this would serve the hearts of other women out there, please upload it on your page, share it. We are going to continue the trainings for ABW and go big and go bold. And a lot of time, I'll eventually share with you what we're doing, and the next 5 months there's a lot of things that ABW is unpacking, and as you walk this journey with me, you'll see also my own layer of formation as I go boldly into the dream of really moving the conversation of transformation from within. And I believe that is part of my mission as a woman in my lifetime, and I believe that we all have that mission, and I want everybody to join in truly elevating and transforming culture for the sole purpose of handing to the next generation an elevated culture. And I think that's our responsibility. Thank you for watching. My name is January Donovan with the Art of Being a Woman Project. Remember, be intentional in the way you show up in the world.